Celeste is one of my favorite games of all time, thanks in no small part to its music, written and produced by Lena Raine of Vancouver. The whole game was made by a Vancouver-based company, in fact, and the setting of the story is Celeste Mountain, a semi-fictional mountain near Vancouver. Celeste Mountain exists in our world as well, though it is situated in the middle of Vancouver Island, south of Campbell River. My favorite piece of music from the game is Reach for the Summit, a driving, energetic song that plays at the very climax of the main story and incorporates musical aspects from all previous chapters of the game, while also providing difficult but doable gameplay that references those early levels as well. The narrative framework surrounding this level might be what pushes it over the edge into greatness for me, though. I'll try to give you a brief synapse of the important parts so that you might find the same impact as I do. Then I'll look further into each part of the song in hopes of pinning down what I find so inspiring about it. Madeline's not really sure why she came to Celeste Mountain. To find herself is a cheesy answer, but at least it's an answer. Perhaps if she can overcome this tangible mountain, she'll be better prepared to overcome other, less literal mountains. Maybe she just needs an escape. Either way, when she looks back on her climb, she's glad she came. Maddie may not know why she came here, but Celeste Mountain works in strange ways. And it might just know what she needs, even if she doesn't. Along her climb, she meets a seemingly crazy old lady, gets held hostage by a hotel concierge, makes friends with an aspiring photographer from Seattle, and breaks her new friend out of a mental prison built by his own psyche. Everyday occurrences at Celeste Mountain, apparently. The most impactful part for Madeline, however, is when she releases a physical manifestation of part of herself from a mysterious mirror. This part of her interrupts her climb on occasion, believing the climb a waste of her time, and that she'll never be able to do it. Eventually, when Madeline and part of her are at their lowest point, figuratively and literally, after falling all the way back down to the bottom of the mountain, the two of them see eye to eye and resolve to work together to make one final push to reach for the summit. The song starts with drive and tension, and it only keeps climbing from there. The hi-hats are hitting in a fast heartbeat rhythm. There's arpeggios and hemiolas from the pianos that are just keep going. There's no stopping now. It refuses to resolve until the final point, the pressure only increasing, getting more and more nervous, until we get to the main theme of the entire piece, in fact. And it's suddenly calm. She's done this before. She's been through this place before, and she can do it again. There's nothing to be worried of. The melodic and harmonic rhythm are slow, and they slow down a lot as we get into this portion. But the percussion is still driving ahead. She's in the zone, and still intent on climbing this mountain. That main melody is the same from the very first stage, in fact, though a bit faster. Here's an excerpt from the first stage. As she continues up the mountain, she encounters a new area. Here, it reminisces of Chapter 2, Old Sight. The synth staircase that you'll hear kick off the transition. That comes directly from level 2. You'll also notice that the melody here is the same. It hasn't changed at all. Throughout the song, the melody stays exactly identical, but it's handed off to different instruments. Here, it's been moved from being on a piano in the previous part to being on a synth. The terrain around her, of course, is changing. She has been here before, but it's different with each step she takes up the mountain. But her drive is the same. She's gonna get to the top. She's climbing. So, the main idea of the music, the melody, doesn't change. But the surrounding landscape, the instrumentation of the backing track, and even the instrumentation of the melody changes a lot throughout her climbing. The ride from the previous portion is replaced with a drum machine. There's more complex rhythms going on. It's getting harder, but she knows she can still do it. As she reaches 1,500 meters, the synth keeps the melody, but you hear an aerophone entering above it with a counter melody. The bass also changes from a relatively normal bass synth to specifically a sawtooth bass, which feels a little bit tenser. Sawtooth basses are a staple of film scores for tense situations, which makes sense as Madeline was effectively being held soft hostage by a scatterbrained hotel concierge in Chapter 3. Here's the bass synth from Chapter 3, that sawtooth. The aerophone is also a reference to Chapter 3, as it sounds ghostly and floating above everything else. The concierge that kept her hostage was a ghost. As she reaches 2,000 meters, though, almost all of the instrumentation cuts out, leaving piano arpeggios, a very simple, slow bass synth, and melody on a high-pitched synth. It's reference to the musical sparseness of Chapter 4, Golden Ridge, which takes place in a remote ridge of the mountain, a long ways away from any ruins of civilization, which is where most of the levels have taken place up until now. As you reach 2,500 meters, you're continually climbing up. The melody almost completely disappears. It's just drone chords and piano arpeggios. Chapter 5, The Mirror Temple, which is what this section of the summit replicates, is a very plot-driven chapter in which Madeline explores a mysterious temple with her friend Theo. She's traversing it again on her way to the summit, at least some semblance of a portion of it, but without Theo there's no specific story that's going on, so there's no real main idea, which is why the melody cuts out. But the percussiveness, and most importantly, the piano arpeggios that you hear in the backgrounds, those are still there. Her drive to continue forwards is still present, even if the melody might be absent. As she gets further up the mountain, she stops every once in a while to converse with part of her. And after a brief conversation after the Mirror Temple, she makes her way to the final stretch. You'll hear here the exact same intro as at the very beginning of the song. She's reaching new ground that she hasn't gotten to before. The Mirror Temple was as high as she had previously climbed, and that's almost as exciting as getting to the very beginning of the climb itself. The tension rises just as it did in the beginning, nerves building as she looks up and anticipates the climb. And as she gets closer and closer, with a boost from part of her, she hits new ground. The intro here ends very differently than it did at the beginning. It's full speed ahead and excited. This is the closest she's ever gotten to her goal, and she's even more motivated than before to keep on climbing. The instrumentation stays full and rich. You hear a new synth taking on the melody, rather than the synths or pianos we've had in the past, because there's new scenery here. She hasn't been here before, but again, the drive is the same. Rather than dropping out this, as it did in the beginning, this full instrumentation really makes a sense of pushing forwards. There's full excitement now. She's may still be calm in the sense that she's ready to keep going, but she's excited to get up to the top of this mountain. There's new ground she's covering now. This music stays at full energy for the rest of the level, until the very end. There's no time for a break when the end is this close. But when she does get to the end, she finds something that I thought was a very strange way to end the song when I first played the level. But I've come to appreciate the simplicity of it. Throughout the climb, you've seen the markers, beginning to count down from 30 once you reach 3,000 meters. As you reach the summit, you know the level is almost over, and thanks to a pair of in-game binoculars, Madeline knows that she's almost at the top as well. This piece doesn't come to a triumphant ending, but that's because there really is no single moment at which Madeline has succeeded. Her goal may have been to climb the mountain, but she recognized earlier that she's succeeded even just in learning about herself on the way up, reconnecting with part of her. As the music slowly fades into the background as she approaches the summit, the drive to keep climbing no matter what fades as she reaches her destination. Sure, she still has to keep walking the last few meters to get there, but now that it's so close, the need for a powerful, energetic drive is gone, and is slowly replaced with a simple sense of satisfaction and wonder as Madeline looks over the sunrise from the top of the mountain. As the end screen appears, and for the first time in many chapters, the music resolves to a simple but full chord, indicating the end of your journey. Reach for the Summit has all the elements I love in a song. It has narrative purpose, it has changing instrumentation, and a driving rhythm, perfect for walking to if you're in a bit of a hurry. Out of all of this, though, I think I'm cognizant enough of my own biases to recognize that those aren't the only reasons I love this song so much. It has so much to do with the narrative background that leads into this song. Celeste has become a bit of an anthem for the trans community, and especially the trans feminine community. The story is an analogy for gradually coming to accept a part of yourself as a part of overcoming some difficulty. Even if the original story is one of improving Madeline's anxiety and helping her cope with her depression, having to learn to accept yourself is something we resonate with a lot in the trans community. The main character, Madeline, being trans may also have something to do with this, but the message of coming to terms with part of yourself is clear through the gameplay and the story. Don't misunderstand me, the music is incredible, but I can also relate to Madeline's blind search for something that kickstarted the story that this song completes. The difficult but fair and rewarding gameplay helped hook me into the game's music too, alongside beautiful art, as you can see here. And, of course, as you're listening to, Reach for the Summit is not the only example of really good music in this game. I can't claim to come at Reach for the Summit in an objective light. The game it comes from is far too important to me for me to be able to set it aside like that. However, I believe it's a wonderful piece of music nonetheless, and I hope I've been able to convey some of what I think makes it so interesting to you.